So now we're on essential element number 2.
All right.
Save regularly. It matters less how much you make than what you do with it.
So 8 out of 10 millionaires invested in their company's 401k, and I would assume probably the 2 out of 10, probably their company didn't have a 401k and they're saving personally in a different type of account.
Right.
If you are offered a retirement plan at work, you got to take a full advantage of that and max that thing out, especially if most employers are going to have like some kind of a match. You got to at least hit the match, and you can invest way more money in a 401k plan than you can in like
your own IRA,
your own private retirement account. And that money is not taxed to you in that year, which is another thing we're going to talk about in a little bit. So you got to take full advantage if you have a work retirement plan and 401k.
That's especially a great thing for a young person that's trying to get started out, because then they never see the money. They don't have to make the decision, should I spend this or save it, which sometimes is a hard decision. Instead, they're going to get a check for this much, or they earn this much, and this is how much their check is. But because they've got 10% or whatever going to their 401k, this is how much they get to spend.
Mm-hmm.
And so it ends up being a lot of money too.
That's a great method for saving if you are somebody who is more inclined to be a spender than a saver, because I know that different people are more inclined towards different things.
Yeah.
And different personality types and stuff like that. If you're a spender, just have the money come right off the top right when you get paid and go automatically into whether it's your 401k or whether it's some kind of savings account that you have opened up. Just have that, take care of yourself that way and have that done automatically so that you don't have to be tempted to spend it.
So we have a slide that's going to show how much this compounds, don't we? And that's your next one, Jess?
Yeah, so I just want to show the power of saving regularly and compounded interest. Okay, so as an example, if you save $6,000 a year in an investment account that makes an average of 8% interest, which if you invest in like just a simple S&P 500 index fund, 8% would be like a pretty average.
It's a conservative expectation. That would be it's a reasonable expectation of what you could earn for a rate of return. In 35 years, you'll have over $1 million. That's just $6,000 a year for 35 years.
Yeah, and $6,000 a year, you can invest more than that in a 401, way more than that in a 401k, especially with employer match.
Yeah.
But that's not even the limit for a IRA. So if you just max out an IRA every year, by the time you retire, you're going to be sitting really good if you invest it properly.
Yeah. So if you were a 25-year-old just out of college, get a decent job, and started saving that $6,000 a year, by the time you're 60, you're going to have $1 million at 8%, and maybe more if it grows a little bit better than 8%. So it's totally doable. It's more important about time than trying to time in the market, the amount of time you invest money in consistently saving, than it is trying to hit a home run. None of our clients, by the way, became millionaires by hitting home runs.
Right. And another thing that I just want to hit on really quick on this chart, why I put this on here, is that this like turquoise line, this is your contributions. So the amount of money that you're putting in, this is the $6,000 a year every year. This red line is how much the account is growing because of compounding interest if you invest it properly. That's ginormous. So don't just like put away money in the bank thinking that you're saving it. You got to be investing it properly. So
ginormous. All right.
Okay, so a quick rule of thumb, if you're wondering kind of, well, how much should I be saving if I want to be wealthy? Well, we always tell people that the minimum amount that you should be saving is 10% of your gross income. Wealthy people that were surveyed said that they end up saving 15 to 20% of their gross.
But it just kind of works. I tell this to young people all the time. As soon as you get into the workforce and stuff like that, if you can discipline yourself and set yourself up to be where you're saving 10% per year of your income, by the time you retire, that will create a retirement account large enough that you can take retirement income out of it that will sustain the same amount of lifestyle that you've had as you've gone up, because you've obviously reduced your spending from spending all of your check to only spending 90% of it.
Mhm.
So anyway.
Yep, and so, like we said, this doesn't mean saving and banking cash. Holding large amounts of cash actually diminishes wealth over time because of inflation. So you think that you're saving, putting away money, but really the value of your money, the buying power of it is going down if you don't have it invested properly. So wealthy people hold enough cash in the bank for an emergency fund and usually invest the balance. And if you're wondering about how much you need to have for an emergency fund, it's 3 to 6 months of expenses. So not 3 to 6 months of what income you're making now necessarily, but 3 to 6 months of expenses. And for most people, that's going to be closer to 3, especially if you have dual income households. It'll be closer to 3%. If you just have one person working and say the other person is a stay-at-home parent, then you might need 6 months, but for most it's 3.